Today is, I don't even know what week. I believe we're on week 15 of 18 in the Run for the Nationwide Columbus Marathon in 2016, at least for me. This is kind of a bittersweet one because this is my last long run before the big taper. I have the next um, 2, 3 weeks is going to be a taper, and get ready. We literally have 3 more weeks now um, before the marathon actually happens. So just a recap of my week and what happened. I ran about 43 miles throughout the week, with my long run being at 20. Now, this time last year, I ran 22 miles, and around mile halfway through, I felt my knee go, and it was painful. It was horrible. I've never had an injury quite like that, just an overuse injury. So this year I've been very cognizant on not doing that. My mid runs have not really gone over as much. Last year, my higher weeks, about 4 to 5 weeks, I was over 50 miles a week. So I think it just kind of over exaggerated stuff. I also did not do as much cross training as I am this time. So that's kind of helped out in that realm as well. So this week I did have to move some things around and whatnot. And uh, my last this last run was quite interesting. I felt very good. I was so scared to push it. I felt like I was doing a good 9.5 to 9 minute mile, but my GPS was telling me different. Um, and that was okay. That was okay. I figured I'll just, if I get more, um, theory being, come race time, if I feel like I'm at, a slower pace than I'm actually doing, then I'm gonna be better during that. So I'm okay with that. I wasn't too frustrated, and of course I was paranoid about my knee. Um, I'd say about more than halfway through, things started to happen. Now, just to back up throughout the week, like I've noted in a few other videos too, I haven't felt the need to, an urge to use the bathroom in any context. Usually I do, and I think it's more of a subconscious thing, especially last year training for this one, and the routes that I took. I was like, oh, the bathroom's right there. And even if I didn't have to go, I'd have to go. Um, so I'd have to take that time and go. But for a few weeks there on my longer runs, I haven't really had that issue. However, today was a little bit different. And I think this also kind of stems from last week. I was kind of surprised to note I didn't have to use the bathroom even on a 12-mile run, which I wasn't too shocked about. But when I got home, and then the next 2 days after that one, I had not had, I hadn't had a bowel movement, and felt a little, ugh. There was definitely something wrong. My stomach was a little bit rocked. But then I kind of felt better throughout the week, and things were going. I don't think I was fully working through it and back on a good schedule in that context. And of course, um, I was rushing out the door this morning. My husband was trying to get all of this wood taken care of and had help coming over. So I was trying to get the run done in a good time, which doesn't bode well when you're trying to rush out the house. I got in the car and was halfway through the trails and realized I forgot my running belt and had to run back in and get that. So I think it threw, just the context of that also threw me off, and just getting on the trails. Um, and there was no stop. There was, my first stop would be a mile in, or then on my way back at mile 13. I felt something, and that part was almost a little wet there. I was too scared. I had to walk a mile. So my times did not look too great because I was walking a mile and having to stop every few minutes just to not shit my pants, to be honest. Luckily, there was no moisture or anything that really looked like poop when I looked, but it was touch and go there for, I would say, 20 minutes. I think it definitely took me 20 minutes to run that. Um, run that last mile. I was not running. I was cautiously walking with a purpose and stopping when need be. I did not look too interesting on the trails. I was also on the phone with my mother and, updating her on how fun things were going. So yes, it does happen, and I am totally fine with shitting myself if it happens in the progress or purpose of trying to attain this goal. I think it's perfectly fine. I think you should get a medal for it to some extent. Um, it's just kind of interesting in this amount of time of me running. I've never had that issue, and of course, coming off of a few weeks of not having my body on that on its regular schedule and enjoying that, um, coming back to this to a totally different extreme is a little different. So I'm a little nervous too when it comes to the marathon itself. I know that there will be a lot more times to stop and whatnot, and I do plan on in the marathon doing something similar to what I did last year. Was I did, give myself the grace of stopping and using the bathroom because I've had to use it on every long run. So I stopped and used the bathroom and used that time to stretch at about mile 5. So I'm thinking I'll probably be doing that same thing this year. And also in the other context too, I've noticed my runs are getting slower, a little bit slower than what I was tagging last year, which is scary. Am I gonna be able to make it? Am I not? I don't know. I don't know. I just need to get under 4 hours. If I get it under 4 hours, I'll be a happy person. I think just the adrenaline and everything going on last year really helped me get what I needed to get. I also started farther back, so I'm not going to um, dwell on it too much more. We'll see what it's going to be like later on. This week I found it, I kind of want to shift gears about pooping pants and everything onto time management because I actually did it this week. I didn't just do my what is it, Monday through Friday work day type thing. I want to talk about time management again because this is where it really is key. You can talk about, what you need to do or why you don't have the time to do what you want to do, um, until you're blue in the face. But until you put pen to paper, it's a lot different. I got this idea when I thought I did, as far as time management from Laura Vanderkam, and I think I saw I got the audio book of I guess what most people do, accomplish in the morning. I can't remember the name of that one, but it's short, quick, easy read, and it really, really helped me tap into, well, at least encouraged me to be the morning person that I kind of am, and take advantage of that. I read that while I was studying for the CPA exams, and that was very fun and very, very enlightening to just go, okay. And then I've gone on to read her 168 hours, which 168 hours in a week, what you can get done, how people prioritize their time. And of course, she's just come out with a new book. I know how she does it. I know I've talked about her before, but in that book particularly before, especially in the parts where she says, well, I can't train, I can train for a marathon, but I just don't want to. She's not prioritizing that. But one of her main things is that when people say they don't have time for it, in other words, it is so true. They don't want to prioritize that task or whatever with whatever else they want to get done or have going on so far in their life. And it's so true. It is very true. So I decided that this week would be very enlightening, at least to have on record on my very last long run for training to see what I did get in, what I did accomplish, and how that went. Now, to be honest, I thought that I'd have more time of just sitting down and just recreation, and I thought I really do, but I kind of don't. But just to recap, it looks like on my time log versus my Fitbit, just to get into that one, I logged that I slept about 8 hours a night, 56.75 hours a night. However, my Fitbit says I was logging about 7. I also included time where I was just kind of lying down and reading a book, um, not at that sleepy state. So that's kind of added in there. With child care, I didn't add any time where I was sitting, where I was commuting them to anything. I logged about 13.25 hours. And this is all, mind you, on a 15-minute scale. And what I did was every time I went to the bathroom, I just updated the spreadsheet. Okay, that was my cue to go and update my spreadsheet. And because marathon training, hydrating well, you should be going a lot. So I feel this is fairly accurate in some sense. Um, with commutes, I was logging about almost 12 hours this week. This is over a 7-day period, mind you, with most work days being about 2 to 3 hours. This also includes between it all, shuttling the girls to school, from school, or if need be, or to practices and volleyball games that we have going on now. Anytime that I was behind the wheel, I counted that as commute as opposed to child care. So give or take that, it seems very heavy. Like I'm commuting like 2.5 hours a day almost. But I do try to make the best of that time. Half of that I try to listen to a non-fictional audiobook if I can, or just any audiobook. Yeah, just this week with work and um, the commute, I was able to finish, I think, one book. And then I'm still kind of intermittently trying to get another a non-fictional book done. Now, what's really interesting is that I also did uh, 8.25 hours in food prep. And I had to do some research on this one because I feel like I spend so much time just thinking about food and how to plan it out and whatnot. And my food cooking, I swear my food should be better. If I'm spending that much time, on average, in the American household spends 30 minutes a day, where it's looking like I'm spending about 1.1 an hour and 20 minutes ish a day on just planning or cooking a meal. Not considering the time that I'm actually sitting down to eat this stuff. I'm literally spending around more than twice, almost 3 times as long than the average American on prepping food. And I still can't get it better. But in the same context, I'm still able to do it under a good budget and try to keep it somewhat healthy. And it's also kind of hard too because everyone has different tastes. So I'm trying not to be too much of a short order cook. I am trying to, put that in where it needs to be. To some extent when it comes to lunches or this or that. So it's quite interesting to see that, and hopefully I can get some more guidance on how better to plan this. I've been doing it for years now. Now how can I do it better? I guess. In that context too, I only said I spent 6 hours eating. Now sometimes that's also eating while working, which I counted that towards work, um, mindlessly shoving food down my face. But yeah, we were able to sit down as a family, I think, 3 times this week. That's because we had something going on every day with the girls. Monday through Thursday, um, one of the girls had a game or practice, and I was in attendance. And I spent 1 to 2 hours on some very uncomfortable chairs and or bleacher benches. Um, I'm surprised I got that in today. Well, at least this week. In the same context, we go down to running and or cross training. I only got in about 1.25 hours of cross training with a total of 7 hours. I ended this up, I thought it'd be different. 7 hours of actual running and or stretching, stopping so I don't Nike my pants while running is included in those numbers. but I found that quite interesting. I still ended at right about 7 hours being the highest amount of running that I probably do in any given week. So that's quite interesting in that context. Now I wanted to be a little bit more heavier on the cross training, but I'm giving myself the grace. It's good. I got something in this week. I got more in than I normally would have, or at least I did last year and prior weeks. I'm going to count that as a win. Self-care, it looks like I'm about a 45-minute person when it comes to self-care a day. And some days I did kind of had it a little bit heavier on the scheduling. That's where I counted the time that if I needed to kind of go back and add up what I did in each category for the day and on the schedule. So it ends up to about an hour a day. Errands for the week took about 3 hours, just running to the post office, going to the grocery store. I didn't have that into food prep at all. And then it looks like I did about between 15 minutes to 1.25 hours of mindlessness. I call that just internet surfing and whatnot. I did not sit down and watch actual TV at all this week, which is about the norm for me. And yeah, so I came out to about 5.5 hours, just like taking the time, like while the coffee's brewing or something, and searching the internet. I think I was paying bills too around that time too. So really, my whole days have been fairly locked and soft. Oh yeah, cleaning. Cleaning's a big one. I usually do spend a lot of time cleaning, so I really want to see how much and how often I do clean. I spent 8.25 hours cleaning, and the majority of that being on Saturday, in which nope 7.5 hours. I lost it. 4.5 hours just yesterday on a Saturday. I wanted to get as much cleaning as I could get in, just in case I was injured today. And it does look like, yeah. I wonder how many hours everybody else does. I think the average there when I looked that up was around 10 hours for the average wife or mother of children does that. And I think my house attests to it. It needs more TLC than I can give. So just keeping up with that too. Again, that with the meal planning and everything, I'd like to go and look at some more. So when somebody says, I don't have time, you do have time. I like to think it's all about prioritizing this or that. And granted, everything on my plate, I put there and I take responsibility for. Um, I'm very happy about it. I'm very happy about it. And even if I did really, really poop my pants, I think it was a very, very good run. I can't tell you how happy I am to not come out of this uh, as bad as I was last year and feeling as well as I do. That I think is kind of the key is to look at it in that context too. I'm a little worried about again the time, but I think everyone does to some extent, and we're just gonna have to throw caution to the wind and let that go. So I'm thinking again, I'm probably going to keep up with the time logs. It's a little heavy to, sit there and constantly remember to do that. But I think it's kind of interesting when I finally was able to look at what all I got done in the week. And then also to sit down and go, where can I pad things, how do I measure up in some context. So, yeah, quite interesting. Anyway, next week is 12 miles. I think it's the same as it was the prior week. I'm very excited to only be doing that, and I think the week after that's going to be a little bit different. So hopefully I'll have some better news for you. But again, if anybody else does any time management type things or has read Laura Vanderkam, let me know. I'm probably going to be emailing her or something. She needs to have an app. Let's just put it that way. I think I'm becoming one of her groupies here soon, especially after doing a full week while doing my heavy marathon training week. I think it's quite interesting. Anyway, thanks for watching.